Well, hello and welcome to the February garden tour. As promised, every month this year we're going to be doing a garden tour sort of at the beginning of the month, just to see how the garden itself is developing, how the plants are growing, how is the garden changing throughout the months, the seasons, and let's say even year to year if I keep doing them for the following years as well. But we're here in southwest of Ireland, zone sort of 8B, 9A, and I'm so excited to show you the little changes that are starting to happen. Now also today, I think I'm better equipped. I have more layers, I have a scarf, I have gloves on, because I could see in the January tour my lips were turning blue. And the month of January and February are really the coldest months here. So if last time it was feeling like closer to 4 or 0 degrees, I can't actually exactly remember, then this morning it's definitely to freezing temperatures. Now it's starting to thaw out, but last night we even had hail sort of storm, and what stayed on the ground froze overnight. So there's plenty of remains of hail on the surfaces still. But without further ado, let's get into it. Now at the moment I'm just on the edge of the orchard here. You can see Spuds there obviously with his ball, but the pallet compost bays are further down the field as well. And from here we'll just go to the cottage garden, where I have a little bit of a progress in the overall development of the cottage garden. Now do you see this? We have edges. I think actually for me mentally this was going to be the biggest obstacle to overcome before I could sort of keep developing it further, because the ground around here is exceptionally stony. I think it's just from the time when we built the house that any kind of remains and leftover soil, it sort of got dumped to this area and it is just riddled with the smallest of stones. So the digging around here is just horrendous. It is so difficult and time consuming. So I have a sort of an iron flat bar laid in here, plus then obviously the curbs or the paving bricks. Now at least I have a definite line between where the fresh soil and compost is going to go, where the planting can go. In between those paving bricks is going to be grass, so the grass is continuing all the way through. I still have to just figure out how I'm going to exactly do the sort of the material changeover from the gravel of the rose garden to the grass in the centre of the cottage garden. And in my eyes, this was always going to be the trickiest job, because I've never done this before. I've never laid an edging like this. I've done a bit of paving in front of our house before, but I've never done it this way. Now, as far as the plants go here in the cottage garden, the central area that I'm going to turn into lawn and where the roses are still in is exactly the same, except I weeded the bed. So I've gotten rid of the small perennial and annual weeds from it, except for docks. I do really need to dig those deep tap roots out properly. So I haven't done it because I was thinking I'll just do it at the same time as I'm digging out the roses. So this is something I am going to get on with within the month of February, which is the perfect month, at least here in our zone, to relocate plants that you're wanting to move. And then otherwise, as a first sign of spring, forsythia is actually flowering. So these beautiful yellow flowers, very like the colour of the yellow narcissus, are the very first flowers on this side at the moment that are going to be telling us that the spring is on its way. And I'm actually really excited now. Definitely once that edging went down as well about the cottage garden development, because I can really see it now. I can see it, what I want this area to become. And right behind me at the moment, right literally of this nice linear look from the kitchen garden all the way to the cottage garden, is a beautiful sun trap. So from sort of late morning till well into 2 o'clock or so, that area is a beautiful sun trap. So I want the cottage garden to be really full on a spring garden as well, because this is definitely going to be the one area I can see I really would want to be sitting, let's say get a big bench there or something, and just take in the sunshine and look at the spring starting to burst through the soil around me. Now on our way to the kitchen garden, we do have to pass through the rose garden. And I suppose when you're looking at the bigger picture, maybe it doesn't look like anything has changed, but it has, and let me show you. There are so many hints and tips around me here that are showing that the spring is coming. Now all of the roses have either fresh buds on them or even proper leaves already. And the tulip leaves are way bigger and taller than they were in the month of January. Plus there are peony shoots pushing themselves through the ground. So there are so many signs out here that the spring is coming. And nature likes balance, right? So even though I want to see loads of these new shoots on the roses and whatnot, in here there are also plenty of baby weeds popping up. So if you get warmer weather in the month of February or very early March, to get on top of weeds, because at the moment their roots are the weakest, so they should be the easiest to pull out as well. How nice to be bathed in a bit of sunshine like this, so warm and comforting. Now month of January and February are the coldest, and month of February tends to be the stormiest of weathers as well. So this year now, something has come out that is going to require our urgent attention, and it's to do with the pergola here right next to me. And we built this pergola about 10 years ago, and there must have been a flaw within the timber initially itself already, even though we have it painted and that paint is giving it a really good weather resistance, and it would have been a pressure treated timber already just to withstand the elements out here. But there must have been a weakness in the timber initially, and it had allowed to get water inside of it itself, and some kind of fungi has been developing throughout, and it has rotted it through an area which we can see now that has collapsed. So structurally this needs to be replaced as soon as possible. But also, which I didn't notice before, and it maybe is something that has developed over the last few weeks, there's more fungi growing on the opposite end of that timber, and I am really worried this is going to spread onto the other structural parts of this pergola. So this is definitely something that needs addressing way quicker than we thought that we might be able to hold it off until March or April. This is something that needs to be done literally as soon as possible. Now on the herbaceous border side, plenty of new growth coming up, mainly lupins expanding themselves, but sedums, those little nuggets, these are kind of beautiful rosettes that are coming out as well. And also obviously the gladioli or crocosmia leaves. I'm not sure which ones because they look so similar to me when they're still very young. And I don't see anything in the astilbes yet, but there are few leaves coming from the phlox as well. And we're also slowly now creeping into the kitchen garden here. The first planters are empty, nothing growing in them except weeds, loads of weeds in here. And further in the fruit field, I was able to just take out that big seed fennel and add my narcissus bulbs, and yeah, that's it. I haven't actually done anything else with those areas, and there's no further changes except the chives. There's a lot of fresh growth out of chives. They'll be one of the first plants really to start showing beautiful spring foliage. But before we keep moving on to the kitchen garden, there's actually a set of pots that are right next to me here, and these pots have been here at least for the last 4 years. They've been totally neglected. I never really pay attention to them. And they have a selection of narcissus and I think even bluebells in them. Now the buds on the apple trees are starting to fatten up as well. But otherwise around here, chamomile still the best performer, plenty of fresh foliage, lupin starting to come out as well, and then rhubarb. Really nice, strong, healthy growth on rhubarb plant as well. But I also then still have the kale, spring cabbage, Brussels sprouts, purple sprouting broccoli, and these odd pots around the place of plants that I am looking for a new home for, or like new location for them. Now, one of my most favorite jobs in spring, so that is usually the month of March, is cutting back the nepeta, just taking off all that old dried off foliage, because you would see really those nice greenish silvery new foliage starting to appear from the soil, and there are tiny foliages already starting to pop up behind me. So just seeing all those little changes, it really is making me so excited. Now in this location usually I would have had these archers. You can see it from the January tour video even, and they've been taken down, and that's just to do again with the storms. They're only these flimsy metal ones with bamboo sticks in between them. So these archers have been taken down temporarily, but I think for this year now I'm actually going to relocate them. Rather than having it at this walkway, I'm going to put them between those raised timber planters. Now in these timber beds there are some changes as well. The top two are still empty. The furthest away there's still two big swede growing in there, and in the two beds closest to me there is garlic, and there's actually signs of garlic in all of these beds now. And even though the shoots are tiny in the bed right in front of me, but they're still there. And I've had a little dig around the elephant garlic area as well where they were planted, and yes, there's little shoots starting to pop up from there as well. So there is growth coming out of all those garlics. Oh, and these hellebores, aren't they just stunning? They are way taller growing than the pink varieties I have near the garage border, but they're just stunning, and they're beautiful big flowers. I also have 2 pots of potatoes still to harvest, number 4 and number 5. And number 5 is already reshooting. So that would need to be harvested for eating earlier than number 4 would. Out of the tulip and the hellebore pots, these were the only other pots that I ended up leaving out here, which are my cuttings. So I have black currants and I think red currants, and they're all mixed up now. I never labelled them, but during the summer I'll be able to tell the difference which is which. And that's obviously with the scent of the leaves and the look of the leaves. But I also have cuttings of hydrangea shrubs in here, and these are the aronia shrubs. And I was actually quite worried about them because obviously they were exposed to all of those hard frosts out here, which we dipped down to -7 or 9, depending on which thermometer I trust the most. So that's -7 or -9 in Celsius. But I'm just delighted to see that there are fresh buds on all of them. So obviously the worry with pots and extreme freezing temperatures is that the soil will be able to freeze through and through, and then between the thawing and freezing that can really damage the roots of the plants. But yeah, I'm just delighted to see that they have all survived, because these are cuttings of the hydrangeas, as I said, but these hydrangeas are really special. They belong to my husband's grandmother's shrub, and those cuttings were taken right before her household got sold by other family members. So this is sort of like in the memory of the big nana. So they're luckily doing well, and I'll be able to keep growing them on. Right, Spuds. Will we go into the greenhouse? Yeah? Okay, do I have to throw the ball first? Okay, I'll throw the ball first. Remnants of it. I know you still love it though. Come on. And today I'm actually going to show you into the greenhouse as well. Just a little quick glimpse, because there's way more growth from the edible side inside there than there is out here. And as we're passing the green roof, just have a quick look at the foliage there as well, because as the spring starts to come about, there's going to be changing happening very quickly on that green roof. Well, welcome into the greenhouse in the month of February. I have not shown you this area yet this year properly. And really this area has become a bit of a shelter and a hideaway for all these extra pots of ornamental plants and any kind of propagation rather than growing proper plants inside here for food as I did last year. So this really has been a perfect hideaway, because at least I could fleece the plants over inside here, because this winter was one of the coldest winters we've had, sort of continuous cold spell after cold spell, and it was wet as well. So it's the worst for anything that was sitting inside of pots. And obviously I've been trying to just relocate a lot of plants. So again, the cottage garden, oh my goodness, I keep saying that word so many times now, but this is true. If you're trying to get better value out of plants, that you don't just buy these big proper mature plants in big pots. You propagate, you buy smaller plants, and then you pot them on and you grow them yourself, saving you a bit of money. Because if you're gardening, you don't see these potting on jobs and minding plants as a job. You don't calculate that as time badly spent. It is something you want to do. So having the greenhouse, having an area like this where I can place the pots and plants that I'm a little bit worried about, has been absolutely invaluable. this winter, and I do really appreciate this growing space I have. But let's have a little bit of a closer look what is actually inside here. A selection of the yarrow and chive seedlings in here that I was digging out. When was it? November maybe? As the main growing bed here. Plenty of onions, shallots, all around the back are shallots. Purple sprouting broccoli still here, more shallots and more small seedling pots. Then my bride of joy is this central bed here, and this has 2 spring cabbages in it, a kale, parsley, curly parsley, and loads of then chard that's growing nicely and strongly as well. I can see pot marigold or calendula popping up there, and I don't remember what this plant was. Looks cabbagey as well, and they're huge. And these cabbages here, obviously, and the kale as well, they're growing really strongly out of the wind in this nice sheltered situation. These are the ones that I don't ever have to obviously even cover up, and I could start harvesting these outer leaves now while it's starting to sort of form its head, and I can see slugs have been at them, but yeah, they're beautiful, well growing and good strong plants in here. Now, if you haven't seen my January garden tour, just have a look at it up there. Click up there, because this concludes our February garden tour. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you coming along with me, and we'll see you next time.